And welcome back to the OHL podcast, everybody. I'm your host, Buckeye Boggs. That man over there is the wild man, Chris Wilds, and you are you. And we're thankful you decided to join us for another position group preview as we continue to look at the Big Ten as a whole. We've been doing team previews, we've been doing position previews, and today we're talking about a position that has been dominated by Ohio State, and we think has a very good chance of continuing to be dominated by Ohio State, that being the wide receiver position, Chris. So, Sunday night, we got together, we gave our top 10s, and now we need to go ahead and put those top 10 lists together and find out what the consensus top 10 is amongst yourself, me, and JR. Are you ready?
I don't know, Eric. We'll have to see what you did to our top 10. Yeah, go ahead.
I made it correct.
I
Number
highly doubt it.
10. Let's talk about James Madison transfer to Indiana, Elijah Sarat. 82 receptions, 1,191 yards, and 8 touchdowns last year for the Dukes in group of 5 play. Now he's going to take his talents to Hoosierville. We shall see if that translates to a successful season in the Big Ten. I think he'll be good. I don't think he's going to duplicate those numbers anywhere close to it, but I could see 800 yards, maybe 900 tops. They will be throwing the football a lot, in my opinion, because they'll probably be behind in a lot of games, Chris.
Hmm. I agree, and this isn't a bad spot for him, Eric. You and I both had him ranked a little higher. Jr. didn't have him ranked. Again, I kind of wonder why not, because the fact is he did put up good numbers at the Division One college football level. Granted, it wasn't the Big Ten, but like you said, he's going to get a tremendous amount of opportunity here. I think he's going to be a favorite target, having come over with the coach from James Madison. So I think he's going to have a lot of opportunity. 10, I think, is not a bad spot for him.
Number 9. Let's go out west and take a look at Washington's Jeremiah Hunter. He is a transfer in the Pac-12 from Cal up to Seattle. 62 receptions, 703 yards, 7 touchdowns last year for the Bears. Chris, you didn't have him ranked. JR had him 8th. I had him all the way up to 5th. I think that Jeremiah Hunter's probably going to get a lot more play on a pretty decent Washington team that is going to be looking to establish themselves as an upper echelon Big Ten school. I think they're going to throw the football a lot, and I think he's going to be the main target there.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. Jeremiah Hunter was actually number 11 on my list, Eric. Um, he was very close to making my top 10. I think 9 is a good spot to start to see where he's at. Uh, you know, he actually had pretty decent numbers on a pretty bad Cal team that did not have great quarterback play. Um, so we'll have to wait and see what happens here as far as that goes. But I do think that he probably, I don't have a big issue with him making the top 10, even though I had him just outside. Nine's
Number
probably a pretty good spot.
Number 8, let's talk about Derrick Miller from Rutgers, redshirt senior transfer, third transfer in a row, by the way, from Monmouth. Last year, he had 90 receptions for 1,295 yards and 9 touchdowns at Monmouth. Chris had him 10th. JR had him 4th. I had him 9th. JR's super high on him, but hey, JR is a closet Rutgers fan.
Either that or he's been drinking the cough syrup again, Eric. I don't know what it is. No, no, Jr. He sometimes makes me scratch my head with some of his choices, but at the same time, I'm not going to argue with the guy because a lot of the times when he makes these calls, he's right.
Yeah,
Um, so I don't think he's worthy of a top 5, not yet. Not having come from Monmouth, or I believe, as I affectionately referred to it yesterday, the 13th grade. Um, but you know what? I don't have a problem with him being in the top 10. Like I said, I had him in at 10 myself. So
all right, number 7. Here comes the first Buckeye, Carnell Tate. Last year as a freshman, only 18 receptions, 264 yards, and a touchdown. But that's because freshmen really don't get to play at Ohio State as wide receiver. They got to earn that time. Check mark that, asterisk it, keep it for a later debate here. Chris, you had him at 7th. I had him at 7th. JR had him at 6th. He ends up right at 7th. And obviously, those numbers I think are going to take a massive leap this season.
I don't disagree, Eric. I think he's definitely going to get his first real opportunity to get out there. Um, but man, I'm telling you, the upside on this kid is tremendous. And he has that ability to take the top off of a defense. Absolutely. Um, my only question is, do we have the arm strength at quarterback to get it to him? That was the one thing I always used to love to say about Devin
Wow.
Smith. He
Okay.
had that speed that not even Cardale Jones could overthrow. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, Carnell Tate, if he gets one-on-one coverage and they put that ball to him in stride, he's going to the house.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've seen that, that kind of glimpse of that kind of talent out of him.
All right, let's round out our bottom five here at number 6. First trip out to Eugene, Oregon. It's Evan Stewart. Now, he is another transfer from A&M over to Oregon. 38 catches, 514 yards, and 4 scores for the Aggies last year. Chris, you had him up to 5th. You had him as a top 5. JR had him even higher. He believed he was number 3 overall. I didn't even rank the guy. And you all calling me an Oregon fan. I didn't even rank the dude. Those numbers to me do not scream I'm going to take a massive leap at Oregon. Uh, He's not even the number
He
one option on the team. If he's Carnell Tate, give me Carnell Tate all day long.
This is what I would tell you. I see the opportunity. I think I did a little bit of foreshadowing or forecasting here a little bit. Um, no, those numbers probably aren't not indicative of a number 6 guy. But at the same time, he played at a not good Texas A&M team. Um, he has, I think, tremendous talent, but more importantly, he's got a running mate on the other side who the defenses are going to be so worried about shutting down that it's going to free up a lot of opportunity for this guy. He's in a much more pass happy offense at Oregon. I just see tremendous upside to this guy.
All right, let's move to our top 5. Let's go back to Columbus, Ohio. We did something here that is going to be controversial. 2023 stats for Jeremiah Stewart. And that's not even correct. That's Jeremiah Smith. My fault. I make a mistake on these slides every week, and I copied another one over whose last name was Stewart and didn't give him the last name. All right, I can already hear the comments, Chris. I can see him coming in there. You're not
Yep,
giving
you just
respect to Smith.
are you in charge of recruiting at Tennessee? I'm just wondering, man.
Hey
Are
man,
you the
I'm
person
trying to
who
get through
put
the.
Davis
I have a
Hines
full
in
time
the?
job. I'm trying to do this for fun. Jeez. 0 receptions, 0 yards, 0 touchdowns. Why? Because he was a senior in high school last year. We have never made somebody on our top returning list someone who didn't even. He's not returning. He's starting, but he has so much hype surrounding him. He deserves to be in this top 10 list. Now, I had him at 10th. JR had him at 5th. Chris, you threw him into the top 3. Not Jeremiah Stewart, Jeremiah Smith. Explain yourself.
Because he is very likely, arguably, at the end of the season, going to be the top receiver in the nation. He has that much talent, Eric. I said it before, I'll say it again. The size of an Andre Johnson, the big catch ability of an Odell Beckham, body control. Like I think the closest thing I could compare it to is what we saw out of Marvin Harrison Jr. last year. He's got the strength, the speed, everything, and he has got a work ethic like no kid I have ever seen. He is physically. And I'll say this again, and I know it may be a controversial take on this. He is physically, I think, mentally, and tactically more prepared coming into Ohio State than a guy in Marvin Harrison Jr. was, who everyone, not everyone, many consider to be the best receiver in Ohio State history. He has it all, Eric, as a freshman coming in. Yes, before he's caught a pass, he has it. I know you don't want the kid to be under that much pressure. You know what? As JR said when he quoted CJ the other day, pressure's a privilege.
Indeed it is. Number 4, let me move on from that. Sorry, I made the mistake of not putting Smith there. I know it's Jeremiah Smith, everybody. My bad. Number 4, Will Pauling from Wisconsin, redshirt junior last year as a redshirt sophomore, 74 receptions, 837 yards, 6 TDs. As JR pointed out, most of that was in the second half of the season. And as you and I pointed out, in a brand new offense that he will be in year number 2 in. So that's why you see the discrepancy there, and JR having him ranked 9th, and you and I both having him ranked 4th, which was good enough to keep him at that 4th position.
Yeah, I really like Will Pauling. I think he is a tremendous receiver. He is somebody that Luke Fickell is going, and the offensive coordinator up there, and he escapes my mind.
Just keep talking.
Now.
I'll look it up for you.
But the offensive coordinator up there, they've got to find a way to get the ball into his hands.
Phil Longo.
Because Phil Longo. Thank you. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I had a professor with his name in college. I can't remember who it was. But
Dr. Phil?
No, Dr. Longo.
Oh, okay.
But no, I mean, 837 yards, 6 touchdowns, and he really did that in half a season for the most part, Eric.
Yeah.
This guy has so much upside. They've got to find a way to get the ball into his hands.
Number 3, let's go to Minneapolis. Let's talk about PJ Fleck's top weapon, redshirt junior Daniel Jackson. I think he might actually be a redshirt senior. Again, I might have made a mistake there. Again, my apologies, everybody. 59 receptions, 831 yards, 8 touchdowns. Chris, you had him at 6th. JR had him at 7th. I had him at 3rd. That was good enough to sneak him in at 3rd.
Yeah, you know what? I don't have a huge problem with this here. He is.
It all depends on what kind of offense they're going to run. If they're going to try to run the football every single time, then you're going to have similar stats to what he had last year.
Yeah. If Fleck, now having a quarterback that can air out the ball a little bit, decides that they're going to put the ball up, this guy's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver this year. Mark my words. And he's probably going to go for 10 touchdowns. So I think 3, again, don't have a problem with that. I had him a little lower than that right now. Again, I think a lot of that was me not knowing either exactly what kind of offense we were going to see out of Minnesota. But
confirmed, redshirt senior.
Yeah.
Mistake number 2, strike 2.
If they air it out, buddy, I'm telling you, he is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver with 10+ touchdowns.
All right. Moving right along here. Here's where we're going to find Tez Johnson back in Oregon. 86 receptions, 1,182 yards, 10 tutties last year. You and JR both have him at 2nd. I believe he's the top returning wide receiver in the Big Ten. I understand where you guys were going with the next one. And here's the thing I'm going to say. I really think they're neck and neck. But the difference is Tez was healthy last year and he performed on the field, where Emeka was beat up last year and he got a lot of time or a lot of opportunities taken from him simply because we had a quarterback who was focused in on Marvin Harrison Jr. on every throwing play.
Yeah, and I can see your argument for that as well. But, me, I do think I don't disagree. I think these guys are the 2 best receivers in the Big Ten. Almost a 1A or 1 and 1A. I like him at number 2. I do think that I know everybody thinks that with Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, Oregon's just going to make that natural transition. But I'm telling you, Eric, the guy's a smurf. He's about 3 apples high. I don't know that he's going to have the opportunities that to get the ball out the way he did at Oklahoma when he was playing in a league where they don't really play defense. I also don't think that Tez Johnson faced off against the cornerbacks that he's going to face in the Big Ten. He didn't face Denzel Burke. He didn't face, I can't believe I must say this, he didn't face Will Johnson. You got Nebraska with 2 very good corners. This is not going to be an easy league for wide receivers to have big games in. When we talked about corners, we saw just how good the corners are in this conference, Eric. And as good as Tez Johnson was, I need to see him do it against that competition week in and week out.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the number one. That's Emeka Egbuka from Ohio State. 41 receptions, 515 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like I highlighted, dealt with some injuries last year as a junior. When you got Marvin Harrison Jr. on your team and Kyle McCord, that's going to suck away opportunities from you. One positively and one negatively. So
yeah.
it is what it is. You and JR had him first. I had him second. And like you said, 1 and 1A, half a dozen one, dozen the other. Emeka has the opportunity to continue the first round draft pick streak for Ohio State. He's that good. Can the quarterback situation coupled with our offensive line situation, can it be good enough to utilize him in such a way that he is able to do what we know he's capable of doing? That's number one. Will Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Brandon Ennis or someone else step up in that wide receiver room enough to where defenses can't just key in on stopping Emeka Egbuka as well? And you can couple that with the fact, can we run the football effectively enough to keep teams honest? And if we can, then I think Emeka Egbuka's numbers could easily be doubled. We're talking 80 receptions, 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns.
Oh yeah, I agree easily. Here's the thing. I think, believe it or not, I think Jeremiah Smith being on the field is going to take a lot of pressure off of Emeka Egbuka. And I think, honestly, remember a few years back we had a 3-headed monster with Olave, Garrett Wilson, and
Jackson Smith
and Jigba, who ended up leading the receivers that year.
Yes, he did, from the slot.
Watch for Carnell Tate to possibly be the guy who gets those big numbers this year, because so many people are going to focus on Smith and Egbuka. I think you could see Carnell Tate be the recipient of a lot of that. However, as you mentioned, the slot position is key too, because I don't think we have, with the offense that we're going to have this year under Chip Kelly / Ryan Day, I look for more opportunities on those crossing patterns, more opportunities in those mid-range throws. It's not just going to be chuck it deep, So I think that kind of bode well for Egbuka there. And any of these 3 guys, and that's why, Eric, I tell you, we talked about it and I joked about it, but I think it easily could have been 9 Ohio State receivers on here and the kid from Oregon, because I think our wide receiver room is just that good.
It has been.
Um,
And there's no reason to think it won't be with all the 5-star talent that we're going to be rolling out there. Will Howard has got experience if he is indeed the man. Um, there's optimism to believe both the offensive line and the quarterback play will improve from last year.
I think the quarterback play improves the offensive line and vice versa this season. I think having a quarterback who is not afraid to move and run, who is not afraid to move the pocket, who has a good pocket presence, is going to help the offensive lineman. And by the same token, I think the offensive line having a quarterback who's not a statue is going to help them look, a whole lot better as well.
Yeah, extended plays and
So,
you
I,
know everything like that. Justin
not
Fields
not to
was
get into
amazing at that, by the way.
quarterback previews here, but
Yeah, that's to come.
Justin
We
Fields was incredible.
Yeah. So there you have it. Is this the best position group for Ohio State? Looking at the rankings, I don't think so.
Man, it's hard. I think the defensive backs might be.
I think the defensive line
It,
too.
this is the thing, Eric. You look at this. Ohio State legitimately
Running backs.
has
Ohio State's the top two.
they have the best running back tandem in the country. They have the best running back tandem in the country. They've got the best wide receiver room in the country. They, I believe, are probably among the best, if not the best, defensive back room in the country. We have potentially the best defensive line in the country. And man, we've got depth there like we haven't had in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And coming soon to Columbus, courtesy of one little animal, we will soon have in the near future the best linebacking core in the country.
I believe that.
I'm telling you guys, if you're not an Ohio State fan, get on the bandwagon. Let the dynasty begin.
Whew. That's a big word, dynasty. That means you got to start. You got to start with one, which we're hoping that happens this year. Natty or
Natty or
bust
bust,
2024.
baby.
Next week we will be
Natty or
breaking
bust.
down the safety position. I think that's going to have another Ohio State theme to it. I mean, mark it down. Caleb Downs is number one. There's not an argument.
In the
There's not a
country,
what
not just
if.
on this list.
Yeah, easily. He could go. He could have went pro last year after his freshman year. He's that
Yeah.
good. So there will be no surprises there, but we'll see how the rest of that list shakes out. And then, of course, we'll finish up with quarterbacks to finish off our position group previews for 2024. Chris, thank you so much for doing this. It's been a lot of fun. We'll continue to do this. Please like, share, subscribe. Go ahead and argue with us in the comments. Again, apologize for the mistakes. I'm trying. I'm tired. I work a lot of
Just know
hours.
if
And
you're
I
going to
just got
argue
off
with us,
vacation too.
if you're in the comments and you're going to argue with me, just know you're wrong.
There you go. There you go. Till next time, OH.
I
Go Bucks.